بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Inshallah, we are going to take lesson 3 in the Bahth of Sayyid Alkhoei. It is Bahth Kharij, it is advanced level. We are trying to simplify it to the level of Muqaddimat and Sutuh, so that our youth can understand the analysis of the ruling, and as we said that bala walakin liyatma'inna qalbi, as for the satisfaction. Now let me point out a few disclaimers which I mention usually. First of all, I'm not a mujtahid, I'm not ayatullah, I'm just a small Hausa student. My purpose is not to provoke things but to use this on an academic, intellectual platform of our Hausa students who have the background of some Hausa studies like Ilm al-Hadith, Ilm al-Rijal, Ilm al-Usul, Ilm al-Fiqh. All these things are required. And also, for me, it is developing myself. First of all, my aim is to develop myself, and then whatever I try to understand and try to summarize, I share it with you. So if you are a Hausa student, for sure you will benefit from this and benefit. So this is not a Masail session like a Masail session. We give another sessions like Homes and all those. This is one rule. How did Sayyid Alkhoei Quddasisur derive it, and how does he respond to the arguments against him? Okay, so that is also one other thing which I wanted you to know, that whenever we have ikhtilaf in the fatwas, this will give you an insight why Sayyid Sistani is different than Sayyid Alkhoei. Because the beauty of Sayyid Alkhoei's argument is, as his students mentioned, that Sayyid Alkhoei would put the counter argument first and make his students be convinced that this is what Sayyid Alkhoei is going to conclude. But then he will come shatter and batter all those, and he will present his argument. And so first he will try to make everybody satisfied with the counter arguments, with the arguments of the opposition party. And then he will present his argument. And then he will keep everything aside. So this is something which is important to understand, how healthy arguments, our maraja, they have differences, but they deal with it in a very nice, polite manner and an academic platform. Now, another thing which I mentioned, that some of the students of Sayyid Alkhoei, they catch up some critical points in his arguments. Now, the thing is that these students, they think that, wow, we were able to catch something on Sayyid Alkhoei. That is right, but Sayyid Alkhoei is dead, rahmatullah alayh. Okay, he can't respond to you. But in his time, for 50 years of Bahth al-Kharij he was giving, anyone who would come and raise a critic, intellectual critic, Sayyid Alkhoei will rebuttal it immediately, will shatter it. So most of his arguments, people would come with critics, he would just defeat their critics with an academic, intellectual, logical argument. Now the thing is, he's dead, so he can't respond. So it is not something when to show your muscles on somebody who's dead. Obviously, if he was alive and you made a counter argument to his argument, he would have shattered and battered you as he used to. So now since he's dead, you can't, oh, I was able to catch something against Sayyid Alkhoei, and now I have a stronger argument. So any students of Sayyid Alkhoei, they counter the argument of Sayyid Alkhoei, okay? They counter, and however, we are going to mention some of these counter arguments. But however, if Sayyid Alkhoei would be alive, he would respond to the counter arguments. So that's why when when I present something which is critic on the arguments of Sayyid Alkhoei, that doesn't mean that Sayyid Alkhoei was weak in that argument. No, this is what his students, they came up with the counter arguments against him. And then after that, if Sayyid Alkhoei would have been alive, he would have responded to that. So when I mention some counter arguments to the arguments of Sayyid Alkhoei, that is not mine, and that is some of the mujtahideen of the students of Sayyid Alkhoei. Now, for example, Sayyid Sistani, whenever counter arguments come to him, like for example, there are masail, there are rulings, and when a marja takes this counter arguments, he takes it seriously into consideration for the sake of Allah. There is no ego. He divorces his ego 3 times divorce. So what? If somebody is more knowledgeable than me, that's fine. Let me learn from them. So this is the notion of those people who are sincere, godly people. So Sayyid Sistani has changed a lot of fatwas. What does that mean? That means he found problems in his arguments. What does that mean? That means when his students, they come and argue with him and discuss with him, he would counter argument their counter arguments strongly. But when he finds there are some weakness in his arguments, he will look into it and reconsider and change his fatwa. And we have seen that a lot happening from Sayyid Sistani. And Sayyid Alkhoei also changed a couple of his fatwas and directions. So that shows the modesty of the marja. He's not stubborn. No, I'm the right. Even if your arguments is stronger than mine, I'm not going to compromise. That is not the nature of our maraja. So that is what they teach us, that whenever there's an intellectual issue, knowledge, then they submit themselves to the knowledge, and they try to learn from others as well. Others, even if they're lesser than them in knowledge, like their students, they don't have any problem in learning from them. So that is the thing about our great maraja. Now, just to recap, we were discussing, because it's a hot topic many times nowadays. People, they are raising, why do we have to do taqleed to the Aalum? Aalams, why can't I do taqleed to a non-Aalam? Why? Because some non-Aalams, they make things easier for them. So that's why they are looking some escape routes. The problem is this Aalamiya is like strangling them. No, you have to refer to Aalam. You cannot go anywhere else. Aalam, that's it, point. But there are others also, and they're mujtahideen also. Yes, they are not A'lam. So why can't we refer to non-A'lam? Because they're making life easier for them. Well, this strangling issue of A'lamiyya does not let them go here and there. So that's why, because this argument is one of the hot topics nowadays, and there are new cons and fake ayatullahs coming and liberals coming and this and that. And so that's why it is very important for our people and our communities to know why did Sayyid Alkhoei make this A'lamiyya as a strong iron-clawed, plugged condition that does not compromise, and the Sayyid Sistani follows him. Now there is some Hausa people, they will talk non-academic talk. They say because Sayyid Alkhoei is A'lam, he will impose A'lamiyya. Those Maraja are not A'lam, they will say A'lamiyya is not necessary. That is wrong to say like that, because we need to discuss these things academically. What is the argument of what are the arguments of those people, like for example Sayyid al-Khamenei or Shaykh Mar'ash al-Najafi rahmatullah alayhi, and all these other maraja, they said A'lamiyya is not obligatory. But Sayyid Alkhoei, Sayyid Sistani, some of them, it says fatwa wajib. And some of them, like Sayyid Gulpaigani and some others, they used to say ihtiyat wajib on the basis of obligatory precaution. But they used to say we don't have any evidences for A'lamiyya, but we'd use the precautionary measures on the basis of obligatory precaution. So these are the 3 directions of the Maraja. Maraja, they say you must do taqleed to A'lam. Maraja, they say taqleed to A'lam is not necessary. Maraja, they say obligatory precaution, because we don't have evidence to impose taqleed of A'lam. So we started discussing the briefing of Sayyid Alkhoei's argument. And then we started talking about the argument of those people who say referring to A'lam is not wajib. So we will continue from that. Now I tried to make some of them in English today. Sheikh Maitham, inshallah, has promised to type them in English last week's session. So, but I tried my best, but some of them I was able to, some of them I was not able to. Now, let me mention this thing. The ruling here, I mean, the arguments of those who say A'lamiyya is not wajib. A'lamiyya is not wajib. You can refer to any scholar, anyone who's mujtahid, his scholar, his ijtihad is proven, just refer to them. You don't have to look for A'lam. The Sayyid Alkhoei says, no, you have to look for the A'lam. So what are the evidences of those who say that A'lamiyya is not wajib? Now, Sayyid Alkhoei presents their arguments in 4 points, okay? So the first point is lengthy. I tried to complete it in my Arabic session today in the morning, but it was lengthy enough. So I had to stop that argument, the first point, and next week I'll continue. And that is the main argument. That is the main argument of the people who are saying taqleed of non-a'lam. Taqleed of non-a'lam is permissible. And that is the main argument. Sayyid Alkhoei tries to destroy that argument by proving taqleed of a'lam is compulsory, is wajib. But that point number 1, I'm going to keep it at the end if we have time. So the other 3 points are brief points, brief arguments of those who are saying a'lamiyya is not wajib. I'm going to present those and we will go from there. So basically this is wajh thani, second evidence. Now if you see all the way, this is the first evidence, okay? First evidences of the argument, okay? And I can also put here the first evidence, okay? So this is the first evidence of those, but I'm not going to discuss the first evidence now. I'm just going to leave it to the end of my session because it is the lengthiest one. Okay, I'm going to start with the easiest one and the simple ones, and I'll keep the okay, this should not be here. Okay, so let's see the 4 arguments for those who are considering a'lamiyya is not wajib. A'lamiyya is not wajib. I'll start with just to give you the intro, I have to go back to the first slide. So he says here, evidences and arguments of those who do not obligate the taqleed of a'lam. The first evidence. So the first evidence basically looks into the Quran and Hadith. They look into the Quran and the Hadith. What does Quran and Hadith indicate? And that is the main argument and the strongest argument which is used by those who say a'lamiyya is not wajib. And that one I'm going to keep it to the end. Excuse me. Now let's go and try to check the second argument. So what is the second argument? Second argument, those people, ulamas, who support who take this as an evidence for not doing taqleed of a'lam, they say inna wujuba taqleed al-a'lam usrun ala al-mukallafin. Making taqleed of a'lam an obligation, it causes difficulty on the responsible people, on the lay people. Why? وَذَلِكَ لِلْحَرَجِ, because of the difficulty and hardship. In what? فِي تَشْخِيصِ مَفْهُومِ الْأَعْلَمِ. So there are 2 issues. One of the first issues, what is a'lam? I mean, define the a'lam. How can we know, first of all, what is the a'lam theoretically and then practically apply it on the a'lam? So we have 2 problems. Theoretical problem, what is the a'lamiyya? And practical problem, how will we apply? Where will we find these people and whom we can apply this concept on them? So they say that these are 2 very complicated and 2 very difficult issues we are facing. Okay, first of all, what is A'lamiyya? Second, how to apply the concept of A'lamiyya. Okay, A'lami is most knowledgeable. I'll just say A'lamiyya. When I say A'lamiyya, it is not an apple juice made by different, it is just the most knowledgeable. A'lam is af'al, like akbar, most bigger, biggest. So biggest, greatest, Allahu Akbar, God is greatest and not God is great. Many people translate God is great, that is wrong. You have to translate God is greatest. So A'lam, the most knowledgeable. So A'lam, two problems. This is the argument of those who are against Sayyid Alkhoei. First of all, theoretically, how will people know what is A'lamiyya? Second, how will they apply this on the hundreds and tens of scholars there? So there are two challenges for the lay people. So they say it cannot be wajib. It cannot be wajib because it is too much for the lay people. So this is the argument he presents. Now you may be satisfied now, but then look at his answer. So he says that, first of all, في تشخيص مفهوم العلم, theoretically, what is علمية? وفي تمييز مصادقه, practically, what are the applications of أعلم? How can we apply this theory on the ulamas, scholars? And then وفي وجوب تعلم آرائه وفتاواه. And there is this difficulty in learning their rules and their fatwas, like learning the rules of Sayyid Alkhoei, Sayyid Sistani, Sayyid Sheikh Jawad Tabrizi, Sheikh Wa'id Al-Khurasani, and all this. How can, it is too difficult to learn their fatwas and opinions. How can we define the Alamiyya? وَهَذَا لِأَنَّهُ لَوْ وَجَبَ تَقْلِيدُ Now there's a problem. There's a problem. Many youth and many people, they fall into this problem. Whenever you see Ahudiyya Taqleed, you say, I'm searching. How are you searching? He said, I'm comparing. What are you comparing? I'm comparing the rulings. I have for Tawdih of Sayyid Sistani, I have Tawdih of Sayyid Alkhoei, I have Tawdih of Sheikh Wa'id Al-Khurasani, I have Tawdih of this, Tawdih of that. So I'm just comparing. That is a very big misconception. You cannot compare the fatwas to know the a'lam. So basically what these youth are trying to find out the easiest one. The a'lam is the one who makes our life easy. That is not the right analogy, right approach. And many people, they say, no, we just want to compare to see. So number one, comparing the fatwa, no, that is no way you can define the a'lam. So how do I know the a'lam? You have to see the methodology which they conclude, like this, like the bahth which we are studying now. You have to compare the bahth of Sayyid Alkhoei in a'lam and bahth of Sayyid Sistani in other bahth. And that bahth, you have to see who has more stronger points, more depth in it, more conclusive, strong conclusive arguments. That the methodology. I will have this one chair. I don't know if it's there or not. Okay, two chairs, same chairs. How will I know that these two chairs, one is made in Japan and one is made in Germany, or one is made in China and one is made in Germany? So they both look alike, but one is expensive, one is cheap. How will I know which one is strong? I will check the methodology. The methodology in Germany, when they make the car, they make it like bits and pieces. In China, when they make the car, everything is machine. Hook it together, the machines, they screw it, the machine, and the car is out. But in Germany, I've seen the way they make car, they put seats after seats, especially the most expensive cars. Everything is assembled manually with the machines also. But the machines, they help you bring the chairs and bring the cars and but they have to make sure that so there is a difference. That the total machine doing in China, but here partial machine, partial human. So there's cost incurred, so there's expensive. And that's why they make sure that the screws are tight. Every single screw is tight. There the machine comes out. For example, I've not seen all the factories and all the things, but I'm just talking about some of the things which I've seen on some of the documentaries. So they both are same cars, Toyota, but one Toyota made and assembled in Germany, one Toyota made and assembled in China, for example. They both are Toyota. So how will we know that which one is stronger? We go back to the factory. We see how the factory tries to make those cars. And then we will know that, yes, this car is stronger because the way it is made is really paid attention. And there, stuff go in and car comes out from there. Nobody knows what happened inside the machinery, for example. So he says that this is number wrong. And this is one of the points which was taken on Sayyid Alkhoei Quddasa Sirruh in this mas'ala. We are going to point out when Sayyid Alkhoei rebuttals this, he rebuttals this point, and where this point is not a valid point to define the a'lam, to check, to compare the rulings. So here he says that وهذا لأنه لو وجب تقليد الأعلم, if the following the a'lam was obligatory on every single individual, على كل مكلف, it is obligatory, it would have been وجب على كل مكلف, it would have been obligatory upon every single individual responsible person أن يتعلم فتاوى, to learn the fatwas of this a'lam. ويحصل. So basically it becomes obligatory to learn the fatwas of a'lam, and that happens to find the fatwas from his resources. So these people who are anti-a'lamiyya, they say it is difficult to find the fatwas of marja. How can a person find fatwa of one marja, entire fatwas? If it is wajib to do taqleed to one a'lam, I need to find the fatwas of all this one a'lam. How can I find the fatwas of one full a'lam? Min madanniha, from its resources. وهذا في حرج على أهل البلاد. It is very difficult for the urban people living, civilized people living with the educational setup. It is difficult for them. How about those people who are living in villages and desert? It will be more difficult on them. فالاقتصار على تقليد الأعلام, limiting the taqleed on an a'lam causes a lot of difficulty and hardship, great harajun azim. وهو مرفوع في الشريعة الإسلامية. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieved the people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieved the people from difficulty and hardship, because there are umumat, we said, the general evidences indicate ما جعل الله عليكم في الدين من حرج. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made a religion a cause of complication and hardship for you. So this is their argument. The second argument says, defining the alam. First of all, the theoretical concept of what the heaven. I'm not going to what the heaven is, the concept of alamiyah, and how do you apply it? Okay, these are two theoretical questions raised on the concept of finding. So they say, no, you can choose anyone, okay? Because it's difficult to find a'lam, and it causes difficulty and hardship, and difficulty and hardship is removed from Islamic laws and rules and regulations. Let's see the response of Sayyid Alkhoei Quddasa Sirruh. He says, وَالْجَوَابِ عَنْهُ, the response, إِنَّ شَيْئًا مِّن تِلْكَ الْمَرَاحِلِ لَا يَسْتَلْزِمُ الْحَرَجِ. Some of the stages to find the a'lam, or first of all, to understand the concept of a'lamiyah, and then to find the a'lam. He says they're easy. Some of the stages, yes, they are associated with difficulty and hardship. Okay. So here his argument is, let's say salat. If somebody cannot offer salat by standing, okay, it's difficulty and hardship. So should we say, okay, from now salat is not wajib in Islam? Should we shatter the whole wajib of salat or what? Huh? No wajib. Why? Because there are people, they cannot pray. So, and it causes difficulty and hardship. So everybody, salat is not wajib. That will be absurd, logically absurd, to shatter the whole salah because some people cannot offer some parts of salah. You see? So that's why he's using this kind of methodology here to respond to this argument. He says some areas, yes, they are associated with difficulty and hardship. So let's see. أما تشخيص مفهوم الأعلم, as for defining the concept of أعلم theoretically. فلما يأتي من so what we are going to explain in the coming sessions, أن المراد به, the meaning of أعلمية, most knowledgeable, is من كان أقوى استنباطا للأحكام, who's the strongest in deducing the laws from its resources. وأمتن استنتاجا, and his conclusions are very solid. Conclusions are very solid. استنتاجا من أدلتها, from the evidences. So this is the concept. Who is who's the strongest in his arguments? Who is the strongest in presenting his conclusions from the evidences from Quran, Hadith, and the lifestyle of the intellectuals? Okay, so how will I know that, Sayyidina? He says, وَهَذَا يَتَوَقَّفُ عَلَى مَعْرِفَتِي بِالْقَوَاعِدِ, and this will depend on what? The theoretical, on him knowing the general rules of Islamic jurisprudence, وَالْكُبْرَيَاتِ, the general laws, general principles, like narration of trusted is proof, like we took in Ilm al-Usul. So this is a general. We have to apply it on a specific, okay? Which is Zurara. Zurara is trusted, that is specific. General rule, narration of trusted is proof. So you apply on Zurara, that means I have to rely on the narration of Zurara, the companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. So he says that, على معرفته بالقواعد, you need to know the general rules. والكبريات, the general principles. وعلى حسن سليقته, and then with his nice methodology, في تطبيقها, in applying them, على صغرياتها, on the specifics. So nicely applying with proper skills the general rules and principles of Ilm al-Usul and Ilm al-Fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, and the principles of deduction on the specifics, on the hadith, on the terminology, as we took in Ilm al-Usul. وَلَا يَكْفِي أَحَدُهُمَا, and it is not sufficient to know just the main things, okay? To know the the kubrayat, the general principles. No, you need to know the generals and how to apply it on the specific. مَا لَمْ يَنْضَمْ إِلَيْهِ الْآخَرِ, without the specifics, you cannot become talented in the generals. فَالْأَعْلَمْ فِي الْأَحْكَامِ الشَّرْعِيَّةِ كالأعلم في بقية الصنائع والعلوم كالهندسة. So the most knowledgeable in Islamic law is similar to the most knowledgeable in any other professions, such as the handasa, engineering, والطب, medicine, وغيرهما. So it's same like that, okay? The one who's most knowledgeable in, so what happens when you have an engineering issue? وَكَمَا أَنَّهُ لَا حَرَجَ, there is no problem in defining the most knowledgeable engineer from the less knowledgeable. There is no problem in defining the most knowledgeable medical professional from a doctor from a less knowledgeable doctor. Here, one of the some of the students they say, Sayyidina, these engineers, they have certificates, okay, and they have their transcripts. So if somebody doubts, he can also check the certificates, check the universities, and find out the most knowledgeable engineer from the less knowledgeable engineer, the most knowledgeable doctor, then the less knowledgeable doctor. Do you guys give certificates in the Hawza to the Mujtahideen? Very few. Sayyid Alkhoei used to give, okay? But there are others, they don't give certificates of ijtihad, because this person who gives certificate ijtihad, he'd better be a very tough Mujtahid. on a level of PhDs, because you can't give a PhD degree and you don't have a PhD degree. You can't give a PhD degree and you're still studying a PhD. You have to be hired, you have to have expert in teaching PhD for like years until you are qualified to give PhD PhD degree to others. So that's an academic system, same in the system of Marja'iyya. So Sayyidina, isn't this difficult and hardship for people to go and check out in the Hawza and check out their certificates of ijtihad? Maybe Talaba, they could, even many Talaba, they are studying in the Hawza and Qum and Najaf, they are not able to approach these certificates of the Mujtahideen. And there are a lot of issues around that. Are you questioning my ijtihad? Are you questioning? There are some Mujtahideen, if you tell them, Sayyidina, show me your certificate of ijtihad, they will get offended. Are you doubting in me? That's the problem. There's akhlaq problem. There's no modesty. Why should you have problems? Just show them. Okay, this is my qualifications. فَكَمَا أَنَّهُ. So you say this is Sayyid Alkhoei resembles this thing, where there is a big difference. فَكَمَا أَنَّهُ. But if Sayyid Alkhoei was alive, he would have responded. كَمَا أَنَّهُ لَا حَرَجَ فِي تَشْخِيصِ مَفْهُومِ الْأَعْلَامِ فِي تِلْكَ الْمَوَارِدِ. As there is no difficulty and hardship associated in defining the most knowledgeable of the engineer and most knowledgeable of the doctor and other most knowledgeables. فإن الأعلم فيها ومن علم بقواعدها وكبرياتها. The most knowledgeable doctor or the most knowledgeable engineer is the one who knows all the general rules and general principles and then applies them on the with his nice methodology on the patients or on the buildings if he's an engineer. So it is all about the application of the generals. But still we are talking about who is the A'lam, the concept of the A'lam. Okay, so it's easy to say theoretically, but practically, how will a person, lay person, try to go and find out that this, he is applying the general principles on the specific nicely, accurately, and lay person, they don't know the hell what khabar al-thiqa is and what the ta'arada tasaqata is and all these kind of concepts. How will they know how these ulamas they apply? فَكَمَا أَنَّهُ لَا حَرَجَ فِي تَشْخِيصِ مَفْهُومِ الْأَعْلَمِ. As it is, there is no problem in defining the most knowledgeable in those areas. وَكَانَ لَهُ حُسْنُ السَّلِيقَةِ فِي تَطْبِيقِ عَلَى مَوَارِدِهَا وَصُغْرِيَاتِهَا. And he had this good, nice methodology and skills to apply those general rules and principles on its applications and on the صغريات, on the specifics. ولا يكفي فيه مجرد القوة على الكبريات. And he says it is not sufficient to know only the general rules and general principles أو الإحاطة بالفروع, or to know only the specifics without referring to the general. Because nowadays you see our youngsters, they see a mujtahid smart in medicine, oh he's the alim. Smart mujtahid more in politics, oh he's alim. Mujtahid more in economics, he's the alim. This is not the way to define the alim. Not these maraja, they know the specifics. So they are presenting the specifics to you. But how will you know that their methodology is so strong, stronger than the methodology of the alim marja? Okay, that is the question. It's not that they know more in medicine or more in politics or more in economy or more in engineering. No, that is not the question. The question is the methodology which defines the a'lam, most knowledgeable. So he says that فَكَذَلِكَ الْحَالِ فِي عِلْمِ الْفِقْهِ. Similarly, we will apply in the Islamic jurisprudence كَمَا بَيَّنَّا, as we mentioned. Idhan, now he concludes. Idhan. Let me just put his conclusive point in a. Idhan, he says, therefore, لا حرج في تشخيص مفهوم الأعلم بوجه. There is no problem in defining the a'lam, okay, the concept of a'lam in any way. To say the Alkhoei, because he thinks everybody is scholar, قدس سره. He says there is no hardship in defining the concept of Aalum. Okay, so but there are a few problems here. So concept of okay, the one who applies the general rules on the specific with accurately with nice methodology. Okay, understood. So everybody knows this. But come apply it. Where? On whom you will apply it? وأما تمييز مصادقه وأفراده فهو أيضا مما لا حرج فيه. Here, students of Sayyid Alkhoei disagree with Sayyid Alkhoei. Okay, and as for distinguishing the application of it and the individuals, and that is also, he said, there is no difficulty and hardship. So there's a Sayyidina difficulty and hardship not for you, or for people of us. There's so many mujtahideen. First of all, we don't know how to define a mujtahid from non-mujtahid. Then come between these mujtahideen, how to define the a'lam from the non-a'lam. Okay, you told us the meaning of a'lamiyya, alhamdulillah, we understood. But how will we apply? We as a lay people living in desert or jungle or in our houses and business and busy, and how will we come there to Hausa and sit with, how many scholars are going to we sit with? So, but if Sayyid Alkhoei was alive, he would have responded. Okay, so I'm presenting the counter arguments of the students. He says there's no haraj, you can apply. وَذَلِكَ فَإِنَّ الْأَعْلَمِيَّةِ نَظِيرُ غَيْرِهَا, because the concept of a'lamiyya is similar to any other things. Like what? مِنَ الْأُمُورِ الَّتِي تَثْبُتْ. So a'lamiyya can be proven. How, Sayyidina? One of the three methodologies. Anything can be proven by one of the three methodologies. What are these, Sayyidina? تثبت بالعلم الوجداني, personal knowledge. Okay? But Sayyidina, have I studied ilm al-usul? Have I studied ilm al-hadith? Have I studied ilm al-rijal? Have I did bahth kharij? So that so this is only limited for the person who is a knowledgeable person, scholarly person, highly level scholar. Personal individual knowledge, self-experience. It's not for the lay people. So lay people still are in that circle of difficulty and hardship. Okay, this is number one. This for the scholars. And that is why I'm surprised that some of the youth, they will come, oh, I'm trying to define the alam. I tell them, have you studied any Hausa education? No, but they say your self-experience. So I'm checking their books of laws. That is not how you define the alam. وَبِالشِّيَاعِ الْمُفِيدِ لَهُ. This one, yes. This one is easy. How? If a marja becomes popular, okay, and that popularity is not because of he's from the proper family, or because he's a political system, or because he's the wealthiest marja, or because whatever media, this and that, or government supports. No, those are not academic criteria. This وَبِالشِّيَاعِ الْمُفِيدِ لَهُ, that means the spread which is based on academic findings. That means scholars, majority of the scholars, they do taqleed to a marja. So what does that indicate? Indicates that there is a scholarly support. This marja is a spread. This marja is spread in the community. So which community? Community of the scholars. Okay, and these scholars, they have followers, different parts of the world. So if there is a group of scholars, they do taqleed to a marja, and that's a big significant group. That gives the lay people satisfaction. Okay, I'm going to follow. This point, Sayyid Alkhoei has a point. There is no haraj. Go and ask scholars. Go and ask, not necessarily Ahl al-Khibra, people of expert in Shia, in being popular, a marja being popular. Ask, see how many people they do taqleed to this marja, how many scholars they do taqleed to that marja, how many followers, how many committed people they do taqleed to this marja, to that marja. Make a judgment, and whatever satisfies you, just follow. That is your satisfaction of alamiyya. Okay, so bishia' al-mufid lahu wa bil bayyina, or two just witnesses. Again, these two just witnesses are not like me and any other Maulanas or Imam Jama'at and community scholars. No, they need to be from inside the Hausa They need to be from people of experience, expert, Ahl al-Khibra. These Ahl al-Khibra, these people of experts, they must be knowledgeable in the level of ijtihad, and they must have this comparative methodology. They're able to compare the methodology of this marja than that marja, Sayyid Alkhoei from Sayyid Sistani. They are able to do this kind of thing. Not any, this is, the testimony needs to be from an expert. Two experts to just experts. Obviously, because lay people, they don't know. I mean, now two lay people, they say this is Aalum. Okay, well, how did you know that this Aalum? Okay, I saw in my dream. Keep your dreams to yourself. We need to have academic direction. We need to have academic evidences, witnesses, testimonies. So he says that there's no haraj. Number one, self-knowledge. That is haraj, Sayyidina. For the lay people, that is haraj, to find out personally. They need to go to Hawza and to live with Sayyid Sistani to know that he's Aalum or not. So that is out of the thing. Wabishia al-Mufid, the popularity. Yes, that is not haraj. You can easily nowadays check the internet, check the thing, see the scholarly direction. Where is the scholarly direction, which gives you satisfaction? And then the bayyina, obviously, asking two just witnesses. For some people, there is maybe haraj. For some people, there may not be haraj. Okay. For Sayyid Alkhoei, these three things, they are not haraj. Obviously, self-knowledge for the mujtahid or higher level, it's not. Somebody who has done the house studies, it's not haraj for them. Two just witnesses, they are available. You can go Qom and Najaf, ask ulamas. So that is not haraj. You can call them nowadays, okay, email them. You can find out what are their opinions about the maraja. So that is not haraj nowadays. Okay. Wabil bayyina, two just witnesses, we said. So first one, self-knowledge, there's no haraj for the mujtahideen. Two just witnesses, there's no haraj to approach to them wherever they are found. But there's a condition. These two witnesses, if they are conflicted with other two witnesses, these two witnesses say Sayyid Sistani is Aalum. These two witnesses say Sayyid Alkhoei is Aalum. They both conflict and they both fall down. So now you have to find another two witnesses other than these four. Okay, until you see two witnesses of Sayyid Alkhoei, they remain, and two witnesses of Sayyid Sistani are all gone, which is the case nowadays. So basically, so those people who used to do taqleed to Sayyid Alkhoei, okay, people like me, they have to stay, because until now, the testimonies of Sayyid Alkhoei's are more. So it is not the concept of majority, it's a ilm al-usul concept where when two testimonies conflict with two testimonies, they both drop down. So two testimonies, they fall down. I need to have another, other than these four. Until the last two remains, it's like going into a competition. Okay? Until those last two, they remain, they are the ones, they will give you satisfaction, and that Fulan is Aalum. Now, these two, there's another condition for conflicting. These two, they cannot conflict these two unless if they are equally knowledgeable. So if these two were highly knowledgeable, like Sayyid Sistani, Shaykh Wa'id al-Khurasani, and these two were lower knowledgeable, they were regular mujtahideen, obviously they don't conflict. So these two are going to fall down, and these two are going to say, because Shaykh Wa'id al-Khurasani used to say Sayyid Alkhoei is Aalum, stay on his taqleed. Shaykh Mirza Jawad Tabridi used to say, Sayyid Sistani used to say. So so these are top maraja, not regular mujtahideen who used to say Sayyid Alkhoei was Aalum. These are the giants of this time. They used to give testimony that Sayyid Alkhoei was Aalum. Okay, so you can't bring some regular mujtahideen and let them conflict with the top mujtahideen. So he says that then there's no haraj. So this claim of haraj is not valid. Okay, so we said Sayyidina, it's valid in some areas, valid in some, not valid in other areas. So it is this claim is valid when you will tell the self-knowledge to lay people. Okay, it's not. Yes, spread, that is easy for lay people. or going asking two just witnesses, that is good for the, so the three levels of people are there. Highly knowledgeable, for them their self-knowledge is good. For them there is no difficulty and hardship. The moderate knowledgeable people who have access to Hausa, they come and go, Qom and Najaf, for them they can ask two just witnesses about somebody's Alamiya, which does not conflict. And then the third one for lay people. So these scholarly people, they don't have haraj. The lay people, they don't have haraj because they're going to see who's followed by the majority of the Shia scholars, and then that is going to be remove his haraj. So Sayyid Alkhoei says that this point, which was used by those people who support that the marja, you don't have to do taqleed to alam, this point is not valid. And then he continues, and then they said that fatwas are not accessible for the maraja, which we said fatwas you don't need to even have accessible, because you're what are you going to do comparing? So even Sayyid Alkhoei responds also that point, though this point is not a strong point for responding to this argument, but it is just a general case. He says, وَأَمَّا تَعَلُّمُ فَتَاوَى, and as for learning the fatwas of the mujtahid, يَتَيَسَّرُ بِأَخْذِ رِسَالَتِهِ, just take the book of law, okay, and follow it. What is the difficulty in that? What is the hardship in that? وَنَشْرِهَا مِنَ السُّهُولَةِ, and it is very easy. Spreading the book of law is very easy. You can find it everywhere. بِمَكَانِ anywhere. وَبِالْأَخَصْ فِي زَمَانِنَا, especially in our time. This is the time of Sayyid Alkhoei when we did not have internet. But now it's more easier. Everything is on the cyberspace. هذا وما يقاربه, whatever in our time and the time coming close to us. وهذا لا نرى فيه حرجا بوجه. We don't see any difficulty and hardship in tracking the laws of an alam, because they said if you don't find an alam, go to another alam. So that means you don't have to refer to alam because the fatawas are not accessible. He says no, that's not right. على أننا, and then he says على أننا لا نلتزم بوجوب الرجوع إلى الأعلم مطلقا. We are not claiming that you have to refer to the alam absolutely in every cases. No. بل في سورة العلم بالمخالفة. Only whenever you know that there are two mujtahideen and they have differences, variances in their fatwa, then it is necessary to do taqleed to alam. We did not say you have to do taqleed to alam in any cases. So بالمخالفة بينه وبين غير الأعلم في الفتوى التي هي محل الكلام. Our argument is what? Our argument when we know that there are differences and we know that there is a'lam, that is the time we need to investigate about a'lam. وَالْعِلْمُ بِالْمُخَالَفَةِ, knowing the differences and variances of the maraja'. إِنَّمَا يَتَحَقَّقُ فِيمَا إِذَا عُلِمَ فَتْوَى كِلَيْهِمَا. It happens when you find out the fatwa of both of them. Okay? وَهَذَا كَمَا تَرَى لَيْسَتْ فِي شَائِبَ أَوْ أَيْ حَرَجٍ. And there is no problem and no hardship to find out that the maraja, they have differences. Because Sayyid Alkhoei's argument is if there are differences, you have to refer to alam. Okay? How will I know the differences? Because that was the argument raised by them. How will I know the tawdih is not available? The book of laws are not available. Sayyid Alkhoei says, what? What? You can now easily get tawdih al-masail of maraja. Okay? Compare. There is ikhtilaf. And now you don't need that moon sighting issues enough for us. Everybody knows that there are ikhtilaf between maraja. So everybody. So there's no haraj in finding that there is ikhtilaf between the maraja. There's no haraj at all. That's his second argument. Subhanallah, the whole time almost went into the second argument. Let's see the third argument. Third argument is easy. He says, Siratul Mutasharra'a. In Ilm al-Usul, we said, one of the sources to know the direction of Imam is in the absence of hadith. We don't have any hadith. We see the lifestyle of the companions of the Ma'soom alayhi salam. Sira is not like Urdu, siro khauche, nati khau. Sira in Urdu means that sweet dish with the with the, I don't know, suji ka halwa, something like that. Anyhow, so that is sira. This sira means lifetime. Siratul mutasharri'a. Mutasharri'a is from sharia, the companions of legislation. That means the companions of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, who were manifestation of the legislation of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. They used to represent the legislation of Imam Sadiq. So whenever we don't have any hadith, we find that there is a practice they are practicing, and we don't have any source of that practice, we will know that Imam Sadiq must have told them. These companions, they are so loyal, so noble, that they cannot do anything without the direction of the Imam. So if we don't have the hadith, we can know that their actions are reflecting the existence of a direction of Ma'soom alayhi salam. So their actions are reflecting in the religious matters. So therefore, that their norm is hujjah, that there is a hadith, there is a direction. Even we did not get the hadith, but we know that they do not practice without having a religious evidence. Okay, so what is the Sira al-Mutasharri'a tells us? He says, the argument, opposition party, they say that Siratul Mutasharri'a حيث جرت رجوعهم فيما يبتلون به من المسائل إلى تشخيص عالم بحكمها من غير أن يفحص الأعلم. The lifestyle of this religious legislative people, it is their nature, it is a norm that whenever they encounter rulings, you see, which face in their life, what they do is, they just go and ask a scholar. They don't say, who's Aalum, who's Aalum? They don't look for Aalum. So it says, therefore, if Taqleed al-A'lam was wajib, obligatory, following the Taqleed of A'lam, عندهم, to them, لازم عليهم الفحص عن وجوده. The Sira would have mentioned that they used to look for the most knowledgeable ones. Okay? But the claim is that Sira doesn't have anything. Sira has only sugar and milk and whatsoever. So Sira doesn't indicate this kind of norm. Okay, the lifestyle doesn't indicate that kind of norm. Wafihi responds. Okay, in response he says, أنه إن أريد بذلك صورة عدم العلم بالمخالفة بين فتوى الأعلم وفتوى غير الأعلم. See, this point is very important. In every single argument, Sayyid Alkhoei has caught this point. You see, he's not letting it go. You go around, left, right, he's going to come with this point. What is his point? His point is, yes, if you guys are going to support your argument with this, that people, they don't have knowledge about the variances between the mujtahideen, yeah, we can take that as a sira. But our argument is it true that whenever there are variances between the two scholars, are the scholars who are learning, they are not going to verify or find out which one is most knowledgeable? Does that make sense? Okay, academic sense, not like nowadays it doesn't make sense to me. No, this is an academic sense, like sense of knowledge, intellectually. So that's why he says my argument is not the sira, the norm of the companions. They were not looking for A'lam. Yes, it is there. They were not looking for A'lam because they did not know that whether there are variances between the mujtahideen. And those days where they didn't have internet, they didn't have books to compare. They used to hear in one city, other guy hears from one other city. So very rarely, they would know the differences. Sayyid Alkhoei says, I am not arguing about referring to the sira is wrong, or not referring to a non-alam, alam is wrong. No, I'm in support of that. My argument is, when I know, not probability, when I have knowledge, ilm, about the variances between the mujtahideen, in that case, I'm telling you that we need to look for alam. That is my argument. I'm not saying no, you cannot refer to, I'm not saying you cannot refer to non-alam. No, I'm saying you can refer to non-alam whenever you don't know that who is the A'lam, or you don't know that they have differences, you can differ. But my case is not that. My case is nowadays we all know that there are variances between the A'lam and non-A'lam, between the scholars. So in that case, my argument is all about knowing the variances. So that's why I kept it underlined. He says, I'm not against referring to non-A'lam in the absence of knowledge of variances and differences. No. وَأَمَّا لَوْ أُرِيدَ بِذَلِكَ سُورَةُ الْعِلْمِ بِالْمُخَالَفَةِ. And if their argument is aiming at, I have the knowledge that there are differences between them. كَمَا هِي مَحَلَّ الْكَلَامِ. That's the point of argument I'm raising. فَلَا مَجَالَ فِيهَا لِدَعْوَى السِّيرَ بِوَجْهِ. In that case, Sira has no anything to do with it. Why? Because that's normal. Refer to anybody. But my case is that whenever there is a like a kind of difference, he says Sira is not. There is no need for Sira in this. بل هي دعوة. Our case is بل هي دعوة ظاهرة الفساد. If you know that there is differences between the scholars, you cannot say you can refer to non-scholar because the companions they used to do. No, that it is totally invalid. This is totally incorrect. Why? Sira is opposite. It is observed that when companions they used to have variances, they would try to come to the Imam. They would try to come to ask the Imam. What does that mean? They would seek the most knowledgeable. And who was the most knowledgeable among them? Imam. We have so many ahadith. Yabna Rasulullah. People are saying this, people are saying that. What do you say? See, there is ikhtilaf. So when there is ikhtilaf, the seerah was, the lifestyle was, they used to approach the Imam. Several masails. And one of the examples, children of Adam alayhi salam. Were they incest or were the two hurs came down? Okay. So they asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu salam. So the people, they used to ask the Imams والسلام, about these rulings. When they hear something from this person, that person, they will come and verify from who? From the A'lam, from the most knowledgeable. Okay, so this is the comment of one of the students. So therefore, بل هي على الرجوع إلى الأعلام. Sayyid Alkhoei says, it is the seerah is opposite. Whenever there are variances, people they come to the most knowledgeable whenever they have knowledge of differences and variances. كما هو المشاهد في غير الأحكام. He says in the intellectual society, we find this when a doctor says something, other doctor says something, then you will try to find out who's more accurate doctor. You don't want the doctors to mess up with your body. مثلا إذا عينا. He says in the non-religious area, this is also practiced. If a doctor mentions a medicine, other doctor is against that medicine. So what will you do? وَخَالَفَهُ بِذَلِكَ. The one who was opposing him was more knowledgeable, most knowledgeable. لَمْ يَعْتَمِدُ عَلَى مُعَالَجَتِهِ. The seerah, the norm, they will not depend on the less knowledgeable's medicines, okay, prescribed medicine. هذا بوجه وإنما يتبعون رأي الأعلام. But they are going to follow the opinion of most knowledgeable. And this one is also the fourth argument, and then we are done for today. So the first argument will require a full session next week, inshallah. And next week we are going to present the issue of tab'eed. Can I have partial taqleed? Or if I don't know who's a'lam, can I choose eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and presto, this marja or that marja, if I don't know? This is going to be our arguments in next week, along with that first argument of Sayyid Alkhoei. So the fourth one is easy. And it says, إن الأئمة, the Imams alayhimus salam, قد أرجعوا جماعة من العوام. Our Imams, they made the people from the lay people, they made some of the groups of lay people refer to some specific scholarly companions. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, such as Yunus son of Abdul Rahman, and Muhammad ibn Muslim, Muhammad son of Muslim, and other than these two. Okay, what does that mean? This is their argument, opposition party, the fourth argument. They say, isn't Imam most knowledgeable? Yes. Imam is referring others to others and he's available. He's saying, go and ask Fulan, go and ask Fulan. Yabna Rasulullah, you are. What does that mean? That means Imam is letting people go to the less knowledgeable people, refer to less knowledgeable, okay? So the Imams are there. So this is their argument. If Imams allowed the people to follow the companions who are less knowledgeable than Imams alayhi salam, who are not even, we can never ever compare the knowledge of Imam to anyone else on the face of the earth. Okay? So, or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So therefore, lay people, I mean regular people, we cannot compare them. No matter how most knowledgeable the marja is, we cannot compare it to Imam. Imams are always highest in knowledge. So now, if Imams allows, they were highest, they allowed people to refer to the lowest in knowledge. So that gives us indication. So if there is A'lam, you can refer to non-A'lam. This is their argument. This is their argument. So if Imam is there, Imam is allowing people to refer to non-A'lam, okay? Imam is most knowledgeable. Then that is a direction. You can, when we have A'lam, you can refer to non-A'lam. That is their argument. Let's see the response of Sayyid Alkhoei, and we are done for today. فَإِذَا كَانَتْ فَتَاوَى هَؤُلَاء حُجَّةً مُعْتَبَرًا. If the fatwas of these people, Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, Muhammad ibn Muslim, Zakaria ibn Adam, and all these, they were reliable proof with the existence of Imam. Imam exists. However, Imam made their fatwas proof that you can rely on them. مع وجود فتواهم كانت فتواهم حجة عند وجود الأعلم بطريق أولى. So that means their fatwas are hujjah with the existence of A'lam from the base of priority. Then if Imam, you can skip and go to the knowledgeable by the command of Imam. Then why can't you skip the A'lam and go to the non-A'lam on the basis of priority? The response. والجواب أن الاستدلال بذلك إنما يتم فيما إذا قلنا بوجوب تقليد الأعلم مطلقا. Same, Sayyid Alkhoei reminds them, guys, I am not telling you to refer to A'lam absolutely in any case. No, I am telling you whenever there are differences in arguments. You guys are right. If I say you have to refer to A'lam in any cases, differences, variances, non-variances, you are right. But what my argument is that if you know that there are variances, if you have knowledge that there are variances, وَأَمَّا لَوْ خَصَصْنَا وُجُوبَهُ وَأَمَّا لَوْ خَصَصْنَا وُجُوبَهُ بِصُورَةِ الْعِلْمِ بِالْمُخَالَفَةِ بَيْنَ الْأَعْلَمِ. I know that there are variances, كما هو الصحيح, as that is على ما يأتي بيانه, as we are going to explain it further. فلا وقع لهذا الاستدلال. There is no base for this argument. Why are you throwing this argument on my face? I never claim that you have to refer to A'lam absolutely in any case, variances, non-variances. My issue is a logical argument, intellectual problem, that how can I refer to non-A'lam with the existence of A'lam? And so he says, Imam alayhi salam innama arja' ilayhim al-masail. Imam, what do you guys know when Imam makes them go refer to Zakaria bin Adam? That means Imam knows that they are not going to be against them. Okay? Imam did not refer people to the Imams of Madhahib or who were against the Imam. No. Imam was always referring to those people who were in line with the Imam. Then there is no need for A'lam. That's what we are saying. These companions, they never had variances with Imam alayhi salam. They had variances among themselves. but not variances with the Imam. So Imam is telling them to refer to them or come to me. You have an option, because whatever they will say, as I have said, that's totally different, he says. I'm not saying, I'm saying, what if Imam was saying different than his companion? That will never happen. Imam will never let people refer to someone who's against the opinion of Imam. It will never happen. So it's totally away, totally different. Imam will never tell people to follow somebody who's disagreeing with me. So that is on the contrary, strengthening my argument, like Sayyid Alkhoei's argument, okay, that there is no differences between Imam and his companions. So that's why you can refer to either Imam, either his companions, because whatever his companions will say is what Imam says. إنما أرجع إليهم السائل لعدم العلم بمخالفته معه. The Imam, the Sa'il does not know that the questioner even does not expect that these people would be defer their Imam. Otherwise, that will be absurd. How can Imam tell people to follow somebody who are different? So the questioner, it never comes in their mind. بمخالفة معه عليهم السلام. So the questioner he never had this probability. He never had this knowledge that Imam and these people might be differing. ولا يحتمل. And this is absurd. There is no even mild probability that Imam makes them refer to somebody who's against the Imam alayhi salam. First, istidlal bil awlawiyya saqit. So that means the conclusion with the concept of priority is dropped down. These were the three arguments. And inshallah, if you have not understood, I will upload this. Please go and refer back, because this is very heavy duty material, deep stuff, okay? So this is the method of learning the Hausa analysis. Inshallah, next week, we are going to talk about evidences and arguments. The first one, because we said we delayed, because look, we did all these 1, 2, 3, 4 slides only in this 1 hour and something. And the first one, it is the very important one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides. That's one full lesson. And then we have the easy session that Sayyid Alkhoei says his arguments. Why does he says Taqleed is wajib? But still now he's pampering those opposition party. He's trying to present their arguments and then we have this concept of takhir. We are going to discuss the option to choose the marja. And then we have this when the maraja tab'ir. Obviously, I'm going to summarize this. Don't be freaked out with this so many slides, because next week we have to finish this, because I have other topics, inshallah, to discuss and analyze them. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.